Some of the creator gods were indeed giants, up to 35 to 36 feet high, and when they used their DNA in experiments, their offspring became giants as well. Listen to Marciniak channeling the Pleiadians. Lectures, Fall 2010. Skeletons of giants have been found all over the world by archaeologists, but mostly, these discoveries have been laughed off as hoaxes. Some of them are, of course, because as soon as the truth is published, someone who is paid for it comes out and discredits it, but many of these findings, discarded as hoaxes or not, are quite interesting because they show how some of these beings looked like. The researcher, Steve Quayle, has spent a lot of time finding pictures of giant skeletons and posted them on his website stevequayle.com. Some of these giants had 6 fingers and 6 toes and a double set of teeth. The spiritual traits of the vegans became subject to jealousy from another humanoid race, the Lyrans. They looked very Caucasian and can up to this day only be separated from a typical white Caucasian person by their stature, and some of them have pointed ears, like Tolkien's elves. They were not as physically strong as the vegans, but had more aggressive genes. They came to Earth with a purpose to conquer. A war broke out between the vegans and the Lyrans, which the Lyrans won. The vegans had to leave Earth, Mars, and Maldek to the Lyrans and give up their real estate. So, they went to Sirius and Orion, where they colonized quite a few planetary systems, before they settled down and went back to a more spiritual path. According to Royal/Priest in The Prism of Lyra, much of the vegan mysticism is the origin of many spiritual teachings on Earth, like those of the Tibetan culture before Buddhism, and the Vedic culture in India prior to Hinduism. Very few ancient texts exist on Earth from this highly influential time period. Here we need to back up a little bit and introduce another species on stage, the infamous Drakons. They were of pure reptilian blood, but related neither to the Lyrans nor the vegans. No one knows exactly where they came from. Some say they originate from another universe, while others say they came from this one, but entered here from one of the many stargates or Einstein-Rosen bridges. They had scales, horns, a tail, but otherwise one head, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a torso. Their necks were shielded just like on a triceratops, but had no horn growing from their foreheads. According to Ashiana Dean in her book Voyager's Eye, the Drakons came to Earth during the dinosaur era, just like the vegans, but not necessarily during the same time period. The dinosaur era lasted for almost 200 million years. Dean explains that the early dinosaurs were all vegetarians and quite docile in temperament until the Drakons started genetically tamper with them. This indicates that they were here before the vegans, who came at the end of the dinosaur era, when there were both meat-eaters and vegetarians amongst the big reptiles. After had tampered with the dinosaurs, they created Drakon/dinosaur hybrids with the intelligence of the Drakon species, and ended up with the prototype for the draconian reptiles, not a vegan stock. Some of these hybrids were left on Earth, fitting well into the climate and conditions of Earth at the time, when it was much warmer. Through these Draco hybrids, the Drakons could monitor the human evolution on Earth while the vegans created our first vegan/human ancestors. About 1 million years ago, the Drakons thought the human species on Earth had developed enough for them to be used in their own genetic engineering projects. The Drakon ships arrived and started hovering over Earth. They landed and abducted human females and impregnated them with Drakon seed during frequent visitations. Some of these impregnations were quite painful for the human females. However, the Drakon/human interbreeding and genetic tinkering didn't work as planned, because the offspring could not live very long in the Earth's atmospheric conditions, and these hybrids were therefore taken back to Thuban, which was their home planet in the Alpha Draconis star system. The Drakon-human hybrids became what we today call the Drakos. The Drakons also later on interbred with the Lyran Sirian Pleiadian Anunnaki, and this is why the Anunnaki during Sumerian times were depicted both as reptilians and humanoid. However, this is an extremely complicated matter, and will be discussed in the second level of learning, and is not necessary to learn at this point. At this first level of learning, I am wanting to get a certain message through, and therefore it's important not to be too complicated, or we'll get lost in it. The more complex issues are best to be discussed at a later time.